Good morning, everybody out there in the world of sports. Hopefully, you're having a pretty good day today. I know I am. So let's get right into why it's a good day today, especially in the sports world in St. Louis. Today's hockey day. Now, obviously, the biggest gripe that I have right now, what's going on with hockey day, is the fact that the game's going to be played at like 9:30 at night. Other than that, I mean, I'm excited. Hockey's going to start up. Obviously, we're really on board with that. Another news that came out, at least a rumor that came out here the other day with Major League Baseball, is that they're still planning on having a full 162 game season, which is surprising because from everything that I've heard is to plan for 140 up to this point. So having that information come out, and that's news to me. But that's great. I mean, I'm not going to sit there and complain with any of that. I hope that's really the case. So we'll follow it. We'll follow it, and we'll keep an eye on it, and we're just gonna keep going forward with it. So here's the one thing that I want to touch on today. Obviously, this is following the weekend of NFL games that happened for the first round of the playoffs. So let's kind of go ahead and recap those scores, if you will. If you guys want to go back to last week's episode, you could go over, you can check that out. It was posted over on Gateway City Sports page. But you go over and check that out, and that's where I did my predictions on the picks, and we can go from there. But this is the recap. In the Colts against the Bills, the Colts lost a close one to the Bills, 24-27. The Bills is, really, I think, was the team to win that game. The Rams against the Seahawks, they picked that up. Unfortunately, I was really kind of rooting for the Seahawks over that one. Obviously, you know why, but 30-20. The Buccaneers up in the Washington football team in a surprisingly close game, 31-23. I didn't really think that it was going to be that close, but it ended up being a lot better game than what it was. The Ravens win over the Titans 20-13, pardon me. The Bears just get absolutely trounced by the Saints, 21-9, and the Browns beat the Steelers in unsurprising fashion. I think I think last week I called that as my upset pick. I could be wrong on that one, but just the Steelers were pretenders. They were pretenders all season. And so now this kind of proves a point. The Browns just absolutely jump on top of them. Now, let's look forward, and then we'll come back to the games, and I'll give you kind of like my stars of the week. But in next series of games that comes up, you have the Rams against the Packers. That's on Saturday. You have the Browns against the Chiefs on Sunday. You have the Ravens against the Bills on Saturday, and you have the Buccaneers against the Saints on Sunday. So that's the upcoming series of games that you're going to have coming up for the NFL playoffs this next coming series of games in the playoffs. Let's go ahead and do the quick picks on these games. I'm going to call the Packers over the Rams. I am going to have the Bills over the Ravens. I'm going to have the Buccaneers over the Saints. And my upset pick is going to be the Browns over the Chiefs. I know there's a lot of people out there in Chiefs land that are going to be, oh my gosh, how could you pick against the Chiefs? The Chiefs' defense has been suspect at best. So it's one of those things to where I'm really going to kind of point out the Chiefs are probably this is going to be the game. It's going to be the game. So let's go over and just go over and do our stars of the week for the NFL playoffs, and let's talk about that a little bit. Josh Allen had a good game against the Colts. It should have been better. I'm not going to have him call as my star of the week, but my number one star of the week is going to be Baker Mayfield. Getting that monkey off his back, getting the Browns that monkey off their back with the Pittsburgh Steelers. 21 for 34, 263 yards, 3 touchdowns, and just didn't even make that game close. How the Steelers came back in that second half of the game was solely based on the fact that Cleveland went into full defensive mode. They just protection. They were doing zone coverages. They were just picking them up hard underneath and everything else. They, just that's the way that it was. And so they were just trying to control the clock and control the game. But Baker Mayfield is my first star of the playoffs, so to speak. My second star of the playoffs, begrudgingly, for me to say this, because I am not a fan of this team. But I'm gonna say Lamar Jackson, even though his stats didn't really show it. 17, 24, 179 yards and one interception, but he had 136 yards rushing on the ground, 8.5 yards, average carry for a touchdown, 16 carries. That's tremendous. Playoff game against a rival. That's great. I mean, hey, good for him. There's other players that had some good games. As we always know, Tom Brady had a good game, 22 for 40, 381 yards. I'll put him as a reserve, as backup, 2 touchdowns. But I tell you what, I'm going to go with Baker Mayfield and Lamar Jackson, because I really think that it really kind of puts to the forefront the growth of these two quarterbacks and where they've gone. Josh Allen, I expect certain things out of him. So, Drew Brees, you expect certain things. Aaron Rodgers, you expect certain things. So that is not only your last series of playoffs games, it's the upcoming schedule and the picks and my stars of the week. So now what I want to talk a little bit about is the upcoming Blues game. Coming up tonight at 9:30. I would really like to see what you guys think, and you can go over to the private page. You could, post your thoughts here on what you think is going to be the biggest factor in the Blues' success this season. What is it going to take for them to be successful? From my perspective, from the way that I view these things with the Blues, I think the biggest factor, the biggest key is going to be to have a good rotation of guys. Don't leave guys out there too long. Don't leave them out there on the ice to struggle. You see a guy starting to, fall off or whatever, get him out of there, get somebody else in, get some fresh legs in there, and to maintain pressure on the other team. You can't let off, because if you let off, then they're going to see an opening, or they're going to see that you're weak, or they're going to see that whatever you want to put it. Everybody has their own opinion on how we view the Blues and how they've handled those things. So it's just something that I want to kind of put out there from my personal perspective, from my opinion. I think that's a couple of the biggest things that they need to do. Not only just offensive pressure, but defensive pressure as well. And make sure that they're not, penetrating deep into your zone. You don't want that, and, you don't want them to kind of establish themselves around your net. You want to play disruption. You want to make sure that you have your big hitters out there, and that's what you want to do. So let's jump over to the comments real quick, and let's talk on that. Thurman Vaught, my good friend, who is always following and he's always involved. He's asking, wouldn't it make sense that the NBA expand to Seattle and St. Louis and have Las Vegas as a carrot for relocation? No. And I'll tell you why. St. Louis is probably your better carrot for relocation, factually. It's the same thing in the NBA as it is in the NFL. The NFL wants to use St. Louis as a carrot for relocation. It's the same thing that the NBA wants to do. Vegas would be better for expansion, to be completely honest. If we're going to be honest and we're going to be fair about it, when it comes to the NBA, that's probably going to be your better option when it comes to those particular things. Because here's the thing with the NBA, that they're going back into Seattle. That's a gimme. That's going to happen, whether you like it or not. I don't necessarily like it, but it just that's the way that these conglomerate, organizations are, with the NBA, the NFL, the MLB. Don't be surprised if so. We just had a restart. Hang with me real tight. We're gonna go back. I'm gonna check to make sure that we didn't lose you guys. We will be right back. Hang tight.